Hi everyone, it's Vivian here. Welcome to another episode of Sit and Knit with Vivette. I'm coming to you on Friday the 7th of February and it's a very sunny but very cold United Kingdom. We are expecting Storm Kira over the next couple of days, so the weather forecast is it's going to get wet and very windy, but today it's beautiful out there. So I'd like to say hello and welcome to any new viewers, and hello and welcome back to all my regular viewers. My name is Vivian. I'm based here in the UK in Essex with my partner Sean and our cat Bunny, and I knit. I knit a lot. And my podcast is mainly to talk to you about what I have been knitting over the last month or so, future plans and anything else that I've been doing that's craft related. I do have an announcement at the end of this podcast, so stay tuned for some exciting news. So if you're sitting comfortably and you've got a drink, let's get started. First of all, let's talk about my finished objects for January. I have three. So let's start with the first one. So the first one is a hat that I knit. This was a test knit for Barbara of Knitting I Love, and it is her short trips hat. I will put a link down below to it because it has now been released, and it's lovely. It's a really lovely one. It's got a texture to it that you can probably see if I hold it a bit closer to the camera. And I knit this using a DK weight, but the pattern is written for both DK and worsted, so you get two choices of what you do. This is going to go into the gift pile, as I have a member of Sean's family in mind for this, for their birthday or Christmas present, because it will go with anything that they wear, so I know that she'll appreciate these. So yes, this is the short trip hat, and like I say, I will link to it below, as I'm sure that is the name, but I could be wrong, but I will link to it below, and like I say, it's now available to purchase on Ravelry. So that is finished object number one. And finished object number two is 99.9% finished. This is my all around the corner shawl, and I'm doing it as part of a cow that Ellie of Craft House Magic is hosting, and I have finished the actual knitting part of it, but I haven't blocked it yet and I haven't added the tassels, so I will show you it. So the main body of it you do as a stripe using two colours. So the colours that I used, and I'll actually show you them on the main part because that'll be easier, is this one here, which is just like a very pale silver, and it's called New Moon, and it's by Grace of Babbles Yarns. And the other one that I used is this one here, which is another one of Grace's. I'm showing you the wrong side. Another one of Grace's, and that is called Lights on the Runway. And as you can see, it's a heavily speckled one. But this is what they look like when I knitted them striped effect. So I shall come back as far as I can with that. And you can see you then add a border at the bottom of the two colours. Now you can't see me, but I'm hoping that you can see that in the camera. This was a lovely knit because it is all garter, so it's great to work in of an evening. It's mindless, but it's a nice mindless, if you know what I mean. Really enjoyed knitting this. I'm just, as soon as I finish this podcast, I'm going to block this, but I wanted to show you because I thought I only finished it a couple of days ago, and I thought if I block it, it'll still be sopping wet, and then I won't be able to show it to the camera. So I thought I'd hold off. And you actually put two tassels on, one on each end of each colour, so that also then gives it a bit of drape. So it's quite a large one, and I think once it's been blocked it'll be even better, but I'm really looking forward to this. And I am going to the retreat that Ellie is hosted along with Julie and Emma in February. So Julie of Suffolk Socks and Emma of Siren Yarns, in a couple of weeks time actually. So I'm going to be wearing this and I shall be looking forward to it, and I can't wait for the treat, and I'm really excited. So that is my almost complete, just bar the tassels and the blocking, second finished object for January. My third finished object for January, I did talk about in my last podcast, and it is my So Faded sweater. It has been worn, and I shall show you it here. So this I call my Truly Faded sweater because I knit it completely out of yarns by Truly Hooked, who is Verity Harris. So the top colour, this one here, is Coven. Then it goes into Trance. Then it goes into Wuthering Heights, which has got a lot of purple and heather. It reminds me of heather. And at the very bottom is Shadow. You might see it better if I show you actually the arms, so you can see it better there. So this was the So Faded. It's a really lovely jumper. I really enjoy it. I have worn it a couple of times. The only thing I would say about the pattern is it tells you when you pick up the neck. I found the neck very, very tight when I picked up the stitches and when I cast off, because it doesn't tell you to do a stretchy cast off. And I should have realised it and I didn't. And it was the first couple of times I wore it, I was like, yeah, am I going to be able to get this over my head? Has it taken into account my double chins? I don't think so. It's stretched a little bit now, so it's not so bad. But the first time I tried it on after blocking it, I thought, I can see me unpicking this because I'm not going to be able to get it on. But like I say, it's not so bad now. So I would do it again, but I would make a note, and I will make a note on my Ravelry page to do a stretchy cast off, because it doesn't tell you that, it just tells you to cast off loosely. But you should probably do something like a Jenny's stretchy cast off or something like that, just to make sure, because it is quite high up. It's not a low, it's quite a high neck, just to give you that opportunity to actually get it over your head. But apart from that, the pattern is lovely. Again, a really easy knit because it's all stocking stitching around, and it's just when you fade it as well. I did work out when I weighed my leftover yarn that I had exactly 100 grams left, so I could have got it out 3 skeins, but it would have been really, really tight. And Verity's yarn is 425 metres per 100 grams, so that gave me a little bit of extra yardage. I'm definitely going to do it again, but I'm going to do a couple of short sleeve versions of using a lot of the single skeins here and just fading them into another one to another. But like I say, really lovely knit, and this yarn is beautiful to knit with, really, really beautiful to knit with. So if you haven't got any of Verity's yarn, I do recommend getting some of it. I do have a couple more skeins. I've got another whole complete skein of Coven left over that I bought 2 at the time because I'd originally planned on doing a shawl with it. So I will probably use that into another short sleeve version mixed with something else. So those are all of my finished objects on the knitting for January. Now my hats for the homeless, which I normally do, I haven't finished one for January. I've actually decided that this year I'm going to do them on the knitting loom, which is a small round loom. I can actually see it over the other side of the room, but I shan't worry about getting it, but I will talk to you about it next time, because I can knock them out quite quickly, and that allows me time to do more knitting for myself and for others, because I have had a couple of commission requests for knitting, so I should talk about that in a minute. But that's my finished objects for January. So without further ado, if you're still sitting comfortably, let's get on to works in progress. So my first works in progress is another sweater. So I cast off the Truly Faded, and I've wanted to do the drift sweater for a long, long time. And I should just pause you there while I get the pattern. And I'm back again. So this is the drift sweater. I first saw this Grace out of Babbles Yarns knit one out of 2 sock blanks from Ninja Chickens, which were gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. And I said then, I put it in my queue then that I wanted to do it, but I just needed to have the right yarn. And as this year is all about stash busting, I finally worked out the 3 yarns that I want to use, and I shall show you them now. So these are all by the same dyer, and it is the lovely Hannah, who is Chromatic Yarns in the Corner of Craft, and as you know, I'm a bit of a fan of hers. So I'm doing a short sleeve version of the drift topped, because again I can get it out of 3 skeins, and this is what I've managed so far. This is going to get a bit precarious, so I shall show you. So this is what I've managed so far. So this is the first colour, and this colourway, and I shall show you in the ball. That's it there. This colourway is called Merry Christmas. So those of you that follow Hannah or know of her on social media, all of her colourways are based on scenarios or characters or storylines from Dungeons and Dragons. Yeah, Dungeons and Dragons, I'll get it the wrong way around. And this is Merry Christmas. So it's lovely. It's like a beige colour with beautiful deep reds and deep greens, and it's knitting up beautifully, as you can see. If I pull it apart a little bit, you'll see some of the lovely colour working, stretching in that. So that will be the first part, so for the yoke. And then I'm going to fade it into this colourway here, which is called Abominable Gingerbread Man. And again, it's got a lot of the browns in it, and it's the same colour base, but it's just got more colours, like pops of blue and green and pink and that. So that will be the second fade. And then the final fade for the bottom is going to be this one here, which is called Something Called Autumnal, which again is just beautiful browns, the colours of crumbs. But I thought the 3 together, and let's see if I can do this without dropping any of them. she says. The 3 together would go beautifully. So again, I'm going to do a short sleeve version of this one because I want short sleeve tops for the summer now. But yes, I mean, I don't know whether I could get it out of 2 skeins and just have those 2 is possible, because I haven't used a lot just in this bit of run, but I don't want to take that risk. And I'm going to do the hem slightly different because I prefer a split hem, so I'm going to do a split hem at the bottom just because it's more comfortable for wearing. So yeah, so those of you that saw my social media might have seen that I was a bit further on. Well, I did have to pull it back because I'd had this really clever idea, and I think I've done it slightly wrong, which is why I pulled it back, that I could cast on for the smaller size, do the yoke so far and then increase. But I ended up with the wrong stitch count all over the place, and my eyelets were all out of line, so I just ripped it all back and cast on. My main concern is looking at the picture. As you can see in the picture, it's quite a wide neck. And I hate it when jumpers slide off my shoulders. I can't stand it. It really, really annoys me. So we will see. If not, I might have to, because it's just like a garter top, I might have to then pick it up and just do a very small ribbing section at the top just to pull it in a bit. But I'm hoping that it doesn't happen. But I just did look at the picture and think, oh, that's quite a way off of the neckline. I wonder how it's going to go. So that is my jumper that I'm working at the moment. I am working on another jumper that I will talk to you about in a bit, but my next works in progress are my socks that I keep in the car. So I have finished the first sock, and I'm now this much down from the toe on the second sock. So I'm literally just knitting it as a tube, putting the cuff in, and then I should put afterthought heels in at the end. I'm saving these because when I go to the retreat in a couple of weeks' time, I know that Ellie is doing a demonstration on how to put in true afterthought heels, because I put a lifeline in as I'm knitting, because I can never work out how to pick up the stitches in terms of count wise. Do you start from the middle and count out? Because sometimes I don't end up with them being exactly flat and straight where they should be in line with the toe. So I'm hoping that I will pick up some hints and tips at Ellie's demonstration at the knitting retreat. So those are my car socks. The other pair of socks that I have on the needles are the ones again that I talked about that are just as and when knitting. These will go into the gift pile, probably for Sean or his brother actually. So that's the first one, and this is in West Yorkshire Spinners Mallard in their colourways there, because they've got lots of colourways that are based on British birds. So this one is Mallard, and I love the colours of this one. You can see for this one I've been really brave and I've not put a lifeline in anywhere, purely because I don't know who it's going to be for, and depending on who it's going to be for I will either do it then, or if I've learnt something at Ellie's demonstration I will just do a straight afterthought heel, because Sean's brother's foot is just about ½ an inch bigger than Sean, so depending on who it's going to be, would be. But this is where I am on the second one. So I literally cuff down, just knitting, and it's being kept company with one of Hannah's progress keepers. So yeah, so that's my other pair of socks that are on the go at the moment. The other thing, two things that I'm knitting, one of them is actually a request. Someone has asked me to knit them a pair of mittens, fingerless mittens. So this is a request from one of the ladies, very lovely ladies that I see at Beautiful Things regularly, Leslie. She was looking at one of my Instagram pages and noticed that I knitted fingerless mittens, so she said would I knit her a pair, and she can pay me for them. So yeah, I used to do that. So this is them here so far. So it's one that where you've got a very long section here, so it goes up over your wrist, so it keeps your wrist lovely and warm as well. And then obviously I've got to put the thumb in yet. But this again is West Yorkshire Spinners, so this is the peony colourway, and I knit a cardigan out of this, and this is the coordinating pale pink that goes with it, and I don't know if that's got a name for it or not. It might just have a number, but if I do find it I will put the details down in the description box. So this is the first one, and as you can see it pulls slightly, but that's the whole patterning of it. It's not a stripe, it's just a random pattern. And this is where I am on the second one, and as you can see it's hosting a little progress keeper. Now this is a progress keeper that I made myself, and that is part of the announcement that will come later, so I shall come back to that. But How pretty is that? And of course it coordinates, as always. So the final things that I have on my needles at the moment is a jumper that I'm doing as a test knit for Mina Phillip, who is the knitting expat. It's called the, I'm going to pronounce this wrong, but I'm pronouncing it how I think it is, the Igneous sweater. So I will spell it along the bottom because I'm just kind of worked out, kind of like phonetically said it myself. So I can't show you much about it. I can show you the yarn that I'm using, but Mina has put it on her Instagram, and she has knit one herself that she wore, and she wore it during her Vlogmas and her January podcast. She talked about it as well, so I will put links to those below to her YouTube channel, and you can go and find out more about it. Unfortunately, the pattern that we've got to test with doesn't have any photos on it, so I can't show you that because I'll just be showing you the pattern. But I will show you the yarn that I'm using. And so far I've only got as far as the rib, but so there's not much to show you, it's just the rib. But I'm using yarn by Hannah of Chromatic Yarns again. You can see a theme coming here, can't you? I love Hannah's yarns, I have lots of them. So the colour that I'm using is called Spirit Guardian, and this is it caked up. It's beautiful. It's a very, very pale pink with speckles of purple and black and burgundy. And I've got these, I've caked up 2 already. I've got 4 in total for the jumper. And I will, once I finish the rib, I will alternate them so that you don't get any pooling or anything. But this is on her merino sock, and it is so soft. It's beautiful to work with. It's so soft. It's so, I just want, you know, it's lovely. Absolutely lovely. So yes, so keep an eye out for Spirit Guardian. Mina's happy for us to talk about the pattern because, like you say, it's not a secret pattern, but I can't show you any photos because I don't have any photos. But yes, but if you keep a view of my Instagram, I will be posting regular updates on there, so you'll be able to see a little bit more about it. So that's all that I've been knitting since I last spoke to you. I've got quite a bit done. Like I say, my hats for the homeless have got put on side because of the 2 test knits that I've done. That got put to one side, but because I'm doing them on the knitting loom, I will be able to catch up and get ahead of myself again. So that's the knitting content. Now I have been doing some other things, and this leads nicely into the announcement that I was telling you about earlier on. I've decided to reopen my little online shop that I used to have. I used to have it back in 2017, 2018. It's called Betty Arthur Creations, and it's named after my parents. And I stock things such as stitch markers and little needle pouches and needle cases, that sort of thing. Small little items, accessories for knitters. And as I show you, I'm bead needles. Let me show you some that I've got ready, because I am going to be at the Makers Market for the retreat in February, so that's what I've been busy beading ready. So I should just show you a little some of the ones that I've got. So the sort of thing that I also stock is these little button ones. So these have got snag-free rings at the top so that you can use them, especially if you're sock knitting and you want to mark out patterning or anything on them. So they're like multicoloured, and they're just little ones. So those are ones that I stock. The other sort of thing that I stock is if you do embroidery or needlework, these are needle magnets. So it's got a little magnet on the back, and you put the flower on the top of your piece of fabric, and then your magnet, it's got 2 magnets, one on the flower, one on the underneath, and then you can put your needle on it, and it just stops your needle from getting lost. I know people that cross stitch use these a lot, and also people that do embroidery and stuff like that, so I stock those. And I can do flowers, or, you know, if you want a sewing machine one or a particular thing, then if I can get hold of it, I'll stock it. The other thing that I stock are my beaded stitch markers. So I bead these myself, so it's hand weaving, bead weaving. Not the same technique that Hannah of Corner of Craft uses, because she uses brick stitch and ladder stitch, and my eyesight's not good enough to do the sew and thread with those. So I use a lot of seed beads and super gels. Now I'm going to get this back to front on. So that's just if it'll focus. I might be off doing this more right hand actually. That's just an idea of the sort of thing that I do, and I have various different styles like that, and all sorts of colours. So I'm hoping you can see those. I will put a link below. This one, I absolutely love the colours of this one. And I'm not normally a blue person, but I think they're beautiful. And the other thing that I also have, I have some, obviously, that are just enamels that you can add to rings. But I also found these on Pinterest, and I thought this was a really good idea. So it's using a button, and it's like a lanyard thing, and then also you've also got a hook so that you can put it as a progress keeper and slide the button down one side. Or if you want to use it as to mark a beginning of round on your knitting, you just slide it over there, and then you can hook it over your knitting needle. So I do stock those as well. And again, if you see anything that you like, just message me. I will put all the details below to various pages and that. And like I say, at the moment I'm just selling through Instagram and a Facebook page. I don't intend to use Etsy purely because of the charges and the fees, and also that, you know, unless you offer free postage, your search, you won't come up in the search criteria and stuff like that. So I'm going to use Instagram and Facebook, and also I have an email address for Betty Arthur Creations that I will list below. And if you're interested in anything, just drop me an email, and obviously I can see what I can do for you. So hopefully it will take off. It may do, it may not, but it's just that I enjoy making them. I really enjoy making the stitch markers, but I can only make so many for myself. I mean, I enjoy having Hannah's stitch markers as well. I really enjoy the beaded stitch markers, but there's only so many that I can have, and there's only so many projects that I have on the needle at any one time. So I thought, well, why not just share it with others out there? So that's how this little one came about. That is on Leslie's glove. That's another one. And Leslie actually found she saw the stitch markers that I'd made, and I sold her a couple of pair, and I put my business card in, and that's when she found my Facebook page, and she then contacted me to say, would I knit her a pair of gloves? So I do take, you know, commissions for things like gloves and socks and hats, but I won't knit, say, a jumper or anything like that, but I will take a commission if somebody wants a hat knitted, or you know, a pair of gloves or something like that. But it has to be with a pattern that is available for commercial use, because obviously that pattern that I'm using for Leslie is just one that I created myself when I looked at some gloves that I wanted, and I took a bit from this pattern and a bit from that pattern and the rib count from another, and just kind of come up with my own creation. So I'm happy to knit anything for someone, but obviously if it's a pattern that you really like, then you'd need to purchase it yourself, and I will knit it for you. But obviously if it's knit one that says for personal use only, then it's not something that I'm prepared to do, because I don't want to upset people. Why would I, you know? So that's all that I have for you. Like I say, I'll put links to everything below, and I shall see you again at the end of February, and I'm hoping that I'm going to take some footage at the retreat when I go in a couple of weeks' time, and I'll be able to take it on at the end of next month's podcast. So until then, everyone have a great time. I hope you're all well, and I hope to speak to you very soon. Take care. Bye bye.